Yo, is this a jazz joint?
Air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. Take off. I'm on a rocket, a space dog. Bought a new car from Elon, wanna race. I've been asking how long is it gonna take. I've been cracking the car, had to break it safe. I've been riding my wrongs, had to change my ways. I was stuck in one place, so I had to shake. They try holding me down, but I found my way. Roddy Rich and go bicycle, love me. Ride away, then my heart went on ice again. Find the balance, my patience been going thin. In the field every day till I reach the end. Popping up on your side like we out of bounds. Ain't no way that they think that it's stopping now. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. Air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out.
Looks like you're on mute, Avery. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, see, what a day already, okay? What a day already. What a podcast already. I feel like we should just start the whole thing over, but it's cool. We're not going to do that. Welcome to the Air It Out Podcast, your place for anything and everything pro football talk. And I am your wonderful host. My name is Avery. I am joined by two of the best analysts in the world, if I do say so myself. Starting with the 1+1 now. Juan, say what's up to the people, man.
What is up? Repping DET over here. The fact that the Lions have made it this far into the playoffs is unbelievable. And I am so happy as a Jets fan to watch a struggling franchise like the Lions get to this point. I remember when my team made back-to-back AFC championship games. Let's hope that the Lions have much better luck than my Jets did during those times.
Let's see what happens. We will see. I like it. I'm a Detroit supporter. I won't say a Detroit fan, but I'm a Detroit supporter. I like it. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys can see him right there. You know, the beard guy, Mr. Chris Thomas. Tell the people hello.
Yeah, what's going on, people? It's actually been a while. Playoff football. It's the most wonderful time of the year. We've had some really good matchups. Wild card weekend was a little bit lackluster outside of obviously the memes for Dallas's first round exit. But conference title game Sunday is tomorrow, and both games are looking to be instant classics, and I can't wait.
Yes, sir. They should definitely be some very, very interesting games this weekend. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Right now, we're going to jump into our first topic of the day. And here's the reality. Like, these teams that are in the championship round right now, they're in there for a multitude of reasons. Okay, let's just keep it what it is. They're in there for a multitude of reasons. But one of the biggest and most consequential reasons that these four teams remain is because of their coach. Let's just call it what it is. Great coaching goes a long way, okay? Like, it just cannot be understated. Great coaching goes a long way. And in the same breath, bad coaching can hold you back for a long time. Eyewitness here. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you guys in our first topic of the day. There are some coaching vacancies that happened at the end of this season, of course, because of the fact that, some bad coaching took place and, it was time for a new regime, if you will, for some people. And with that being said, we've got some new coaching hires. We still got a couple vacancies and different things like that. But I want to ask, Who do you feel was the best hire so far, and who do you feel like was the worst? Juan, looks like Chris is having some technical difficulties, so I am going to start with you. Talk to me about who you feel are the best and worst coaching hires of the offseason, well, the postseason so far.
So I um I don't think like a lot of these are bad. Like I don't think any of these were like the worst, but someone has to come out as being the worst hire. And I think the answer I'm going to give for the worst hire has to be Dave Canales to the Panthers. Dave Canales is a great coach. He is a growing quarterback whisperer. All right, he revitalized the career of Geno Smith into becoming comeback player of the year. Turned Baker Mayfield into a playoff leading quarterback who's about to get paid by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Canales, I think, has the makings of a great head coach and a great offensive head coach at that. The only issue is who he got hired by. David Tepper is not known to have a good patience when it comes to his hiring. So we saw what happened with Matt Rule. He thought he learned his lesson and brought in Frank Reich, who he fired less than a year into the season. And he strong-armed his choice for quarterback in Bryce Young. And Bryce Young is not a bad quarterback, but the roster construction for this team has not been ideal. And a lot of people would have to say Tepper had a huge part in that because he thought he could just force his way into it. So Canales, I think, is going to be a great coach. I think he can mold Bryce Young into the quarterback that he's supposed to be, but it's going to be tough for him to do that with the eyes and ire of David Tepper hovering over him. So that's my worst. My best, I'm going to have to give it to your Falcons. Raheem Morris, I think, is the best hire for the season because Raheem he's part of that vaunted 2013 Washington Redskins staff that now has 6 head coaches in the NFL. He is multifaceted in terms of a coordinator. He coached on both sides of the ball. He was a wide receivers coach, but he also became the defensive coordinator. So he knows both sides of the ball very well. He's not like a Robert Saleh where defense is a specialty. He's not like a Sean McVay where offense is a specialty. He knows both sides of the ball. He's a leader of men, and he knows and he has a personality that can drive and take the most out of his guys. And he's coming into a team that is loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. All he needs is to get the next quarterback pick right. And with the number 8 overall pick, it shouldn't be that hard. I would say the Falcons might have enough draft capital to trade up to the top 3 and get the quarterback of their choice, but we'll see.
We'll definitely see. It'll be interesting to see what happens coming draft time and throughout the rest of this offseason. Not mad at those selections. Chris, talk to us. Who do you have as the best hiring so far, and who do you have as the worst? To Juan's point, Juan said he doesn't feel like anybody's like a bad hire, but like I just want to pose it as in like who is the hire that you're like, we'll see.
Okay. First off, to elaborate more on Juan's point, I really also want to give a shout out to Raheem Morris. For also making history as well. Because of this hire, he's become the first African-American head coach for the Atlanta Falcons in a permanent position. So I just want to give Raheem Morris, a shout out for that. It's been a long time coming, especially for, the way, the Atlanta culture is down there. Big props to him. I can't wait to see, the way that defense is, especially with, the big names that you guys got, AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, who's a big free agent signing. I can't wait to see what more they add to that defense down there. And more importantly, I think I kind of got an idea of like who you're going to draft with the 8th overall pick, especially with their offensive coordinator search going right now. But we'll save that for later. As far as the worst hiring goes, and I hate to say this, but I have to give it to the New England Patriots with Gerard Mayo. Listen, I wish Gerard Mayo all the success in the world in New England, but number one, you're coming after the shadow of a quarter of a century of probably the most successful coach in NFL history. A guy that has manifested 7 Super Bowls, has dominated the AFC that nobody has ever done in NFL history. So obviously, I understand. You kind of going for that D'Amico Ryans kind of feel like he's made his bed. He's made his entire career. He's made he's made his NFL livelihood there in New England. I love his press conference speech. But that's the defense last year really wasn't the issue. And more importantly, I would compound that the reason why the defense wasn't as dominant as it was years past is because of how the Patriots literally had the worst offense in the NFL. Whether it was Mac Jones or whether it was Bailey Zappi, you couldn't get neither production out of those young quarterbacks. You had probably the worst wide receiver room in all the NFL, and your running back committee left a lot to be desired. So Jerod Mayo being a defensive coach, it's going to be hard for me to see any success because you have so many holes on the offensive side of the ball that you're not going to have success kind of right off the bat because of how many holes that you have in the offense. And more importantly, you're coming into the shadow of what Bill Belichick left. So just from that alone, I have to say that's probably the worst coaching hire. As far as the best coaching hire, listen, and I know Jerome is probably going to be like, what? Or like he's going to be like giving like a smile. It's Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. I absolutely love this hire. When Jim Harbaugh was in the 49ers, you want to talk about quarterback whisperer? He gave Alex Smith a second career revitalization that almost lasted an entire decade, even after he left San Fran to Kansas City. We saw what the run he did with Colin Kaepernick. And more importantly, if he would have gotten enough time with that team, I feel like they could have possibly retooled and probably make another run before him getting unceremoniously fired and heading to Michigan. You're going there with probably one of the more young, brilliant quarterbacks in Justin Herbert, and you still have a lot of retooling on the offensive deal. Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen a little bit long to the tooth. You still need a new tight end because I don't think Gerald Everett's a long-term solution. But I think with the picks and the way Harbaugh's mind works, I think he's going to get the most out of Justin Herbert. And more importantly, we're probably going to see the most potent rushing attack that the Chargers have probably were going to produce since LaDainian Tomlinson is there. And as far as the defense is concerned, whether he brings over his defensive coordinator over from Michigan and Jesse Minter and being able to, get the pieces like Bosa, Mack, Asante Samuel, and Derwin James, I think with the way that Harbaugh is a leader among men, his voice carries, I think the Chargers are going to be a very instant success within the next 1 to 2 years, depending on how much him and Justin Herbert are able to connect right away.
Fun fact about Jim Harbaugh before I throw it over to Avery real quick. He hasn't called an offensive play since 2017, so he knows how to build a staff around him that can adjust to the teams that he's building. And also, just a quick shout out to Sherrone Moore for getting the head coaching job. Very well deserved, despite what people may say about what happened last year when he was crying during that suspension. Crying is a good thing in sports, man. It means you care. Gosh darn it. And shout out to Moore for getting that job. Well deserved. Hopefully he can leave the Wolverines past another Ohio State team that is going to falter this year.
I love it. I love the pettiness on the podcast already. It's not even college football season anymore. I love it. All right. So for me, I'm going to say the worst. I'm actually going to agree here with Chris. I believe, again, shout out to Jerod Mayo. To your point about Raheem Mostert, same situation in New England, right? First African-American coach ever hired in the Patriots organization. So head coach in that organization. So shout out to him for breaking down that barrier in that regard. But I agree with you, Chris. I think that there's just a lot of hills to overcome when it comes to him. Like, I don't know if he has enough tooling to get everything done, right? I mean, it's a pretty hefty rebuild, if you will, in my opinion. So I just don't know if it's going to work out immediately. And that's my biggest question mark. I mean, there's so many holes on that team in general, not just from the quarterback position, but obviously from the receiver position. I think Ramondre Stevens is a good running back. Zeke is a good complement to that. But that's something that we're gonna have to see how that plays out. And then defensively, there's just a bunch of holes. So I don't know about it. For me, as far as the best, now I'm going to go back and agree with Juan. I actually almost went Harbaugh as well. I think Harbaugh is going to be a really good coach. I mean, everywhere he's going, he's been a really great coach, right? He had Alex Smith playing high elite level football, Colin Kaepernick playing high elite level football. He goes to Michigan, and all they do is win, and then he finally gets over the hump and gets a national championship with not even what people would consider a top 5 NFL draft prospect quarterback, right? And J.J. McCarthy. So I think he's going to be really, really solid in the league. I mean, he's a great head coach. But I'm going to have to go for my best, being Raheem Morris. And the reason behind it is I heard Dan Orlovsky say this when they had him on their show. He said that when he came into the room and when he sat down and when they were having a conversation with him, he said he just exuded being a head coach. He said, like, you just knew this is a head coach. This isn't just a coordinator. This is a head coach. And if you can command that, if you can exude that, if you can have that type of presence about you, and we're just on a TV show talking football, I mean, I can only imagine how a locker room responds to you. And all the reports from the Rams locker room is that everybody loves the guy. Like, and as a matter of fact, the owner didn't necessarily want to lose Raheem, but knew how much is in him and wanted to allow him to fly or soar, if you will. And so I think it's a great hiring, bringing him back into the organization. I was a proponent that he should have been the head coach initially before Arthur Smith. I believe that he should have gotten the head coaching job after Dan Quinn, but that's not my decision to make. So I'm glad that they brought him back in that regard. I believe that I believe that because of the type of person he is, players want to play for him as well. So I think he'll be able to bring in some free agents that, can help bolster and improve our roster. My only concern is making sure that he hires a good offensive coordinator and allows the offensive coordinator to do their job, be an offensive coordinator. So that's my biggest concern. And obviously quarterback, right? Here's my best case scenario. Here's what I would like to happen. I would like us to go ahead and trade for Justin Fields. And I think the podcast just went down. Oh, no, it's back. Okay. All right. I don't know what happened there. Technical difficulties this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where you guys heard me leave off. I don't know if you guys can even see me because I can't see myself. But
we heard you the whole way, Avery.
Sweet.
Yeah. I will say
we can hear you.
I will say to one point to mention the fact that Bill Belichick is still out of a job is absolutely astounding.
Yeah,
and we heard in the reports that like the way that the Falcons had approached him about taking the job, and how Belichick wanted to make institutional changes within the organization with regards to structure, just didn't match to where the organization wanted to be. In other words, Bill Belichick, the GM, I think is dead, and only Bill Belichick, the coach, is what's accepted in today's NFL. And that might be the right move, and I think that's something Bill Belichick will have to accept if he ever wants to go back into the NFL.
I mean, it's a strong possibility, but at the same time, like, there's always one, right? There's always one team that's willing to do the thing, right? And because of his track record, I mean, as a 7-time Super Bowl winning coach, and I mean, arguably the best coach of all time, I think he's less than 30 wins away from having the most wins of all time by any NFL coach in history. So I think there's something that can be said for that. I think somebody will make the decision, right? And say, hey, you know what? We'll take that chance, right? I don't know when. I don't know if it'll be this year. But I could see it happening for sure. Now, back to Raheem Morris. I think here's what I would like him to do. Okay, this is just me being a Falcons fan and being extremely optimistic here. Okay, trade a second, maybe even 2 seconds. Go get Justin Fields. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna lie. I like the kid. Bring him back home. I'm not a huge Ohio State fan, nor am I a huge Ohio State quarterback fan, but the guy can play some football. And I would love to see people try to stop the running game of Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Justin Fields in the backfield. I would love to see teams try to scheme for that. Then you have Drake London there, Kyle Pitts on the other side. And here's what I would like us to do. I would like us to go ahead and do one of two things. Either hope that Marvin Harrison Jr. falls to 8, which I don't foresee happening. There's too many teams above us that probably would want to take him. So I would say, let's trade up. Let's trade up. Okay, let's trade up and get into the top 5 and go get Marvin Harrison Jr. Could you imagine an offense with Drake London, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Justin Fields? My. I just, for me, that's just amazing right there. Okay. I don't like all the Ohio State players on my team like that. But hey, listen, it is what it is. Okay. I'm trying to win some football games. Anywho, we're going to jump into our next category here today. And that is since we're talking about picks, what should Chicago do with the number 1 pick? Okay. Should they trade back? Should they draft Mr. Caleb? Should they go a different direction and draft somebody else? Like, what do you guys think that the Chicago Bears should do with their number 1 overall pick? Chris, I'm going to start with you.
For me, I'm more so in the camp of 60% keeping Justin Fields and building an actual offense around him. So if you're just asking for me, my opinion, shop the number 1 pick, because you're going to have a lot of teams who are going to be willing to pay a king's ransom once again for a number 1 overall pick. So if by doing that you hired the quarterback's coach also for the Seattle Seahawks to now call your plays, that kind of says to me that instead of just going for a new hire, and that just tells to me that if you're going to keep this coaching staff, you're more so aligned in terms of trying to eat and see and feel out if Justin Fields could be your guy, as opposed to going up and getting a brand new guy and having a new rookie quarterback learn a new offense with kind of really the same issues from your offense in which you had the previous year. So I think the smart thing to do is to get Justin Fields. There's a reason why you traded for DJ Moore, and him and DJ Moore is probably one of the better 1-2 combinations in all of football. If you just look for a quarterback rating and touchdown combination in the NFL last year. And when you saw when Justin Fields got healthy and after the trade deadline, you traded for Montez Sweat and Eberflus started calling the plays, the Bears actually started winning football games. If you can get the left tackle from Penn State, who's probably the best left tackle in all football, or Joe Alt from Notre Dame, to fortify that blind side for Justin Fields. If you use the number 1 overall pick and get Marvin Harrison Jr. and you got him and throwing it to DJ Moore, or you trade back. Unfortunately, you're out of the Marvin Harrison sweepstakes, and you use those top 2 first-round picks to get like a Brock Bowers, and you run 12 personnel with him and Corey Clement, and you get Romeo Duse from Washington or Malik Neighbors. There are plenty of ways in this draft, and there are plenty of offensive weapons that you can use to build your offense to give Justin Fields a shot. And more importantly, you don't have to get Caleb Williams or Drake May this year. Next year's quarterback class is just as good. I feel like we get so much wrapped around in terms of calling every single quarterback who does Patrick Mahomes like things kind of generational, and I don't think Caleb Williams is a generational quarterback. I think he's much more aligned in terms of the skill set that, all due respect, I think he's more closer to Kyler Murray than he is to Patrick Mahomes. You already know what you're getting from Justin Fields. You already know what you're getting from that connection with him and DJ Moore. Those guys are buddies. And more importantly, the Chicago fan base have literally chanted for Justin Fields. When is the last time that Chicago Bears fan base has ever chanted for any quarterback whatsoever? So for me, I feel like the smart thing for you to do, the smart thing for Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles to do is to keep Justin Fields. If not, I would love to see him in Atlanta. That RPO offense with him and Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, that'd be fun to watch.
Absolutely. All right, Juan, talk to me. What should Chicago do?
So I've spoken with Bears fans here in Detroit and about their thoughts on what to do with that pick, and they've all told me the same thing: keep Justin Fields and trade down. But I don't think trade down is necessarily the right answer. I think this is a very top-heavy draft, especially with the talent, with a lot of the talent at wide receiver, and you need to pair someone with DJ Moore. My take, I think, is going to be draft Marvin Harrison #1 overall. Make Marvin Harrison the #1 overall pick. He is arguably the top prospect in this entire draft. And hot take, if I may, I don't even think Caleb Williams is that good. I honestly think that every pick past #5 is going to be a quarterback, and there's no way that they can trade any farther than that in order to get top tier talent. I don't think Marvin Harrison would survive the top 5. So take Marvin Harrison #1 overall. Take Joe Alt in with your other top 10 pick and build around Justin Fields and make sure that he is secured for the future. This Bears team has the potential to be good, but you have to have trust in the players that you already have in your system and build around them. Otherwise, if you follow the frustration of every negative Bears fan or every fan who wants Justin Fields for their own team, you're never going to get to where you want to be. So I'm calling at the McCaskies right now. Patience and build. That's the key to success in Chicago.
Okay, I'm not mad at it at all. Here's my personal opinion. I'm actually torn. I think that there should be some serious consideration for letting Justin Fields go. Okay, and here's why. And this is more so from a business standpoint than it is a football standpoint. Justin Fields is going to need to get paid soon. And if you don't think that he's your guy, if you don't think that he's shown you enough that he can take you guys, and win some games, get you guys into playoff contention, maybe win some playoff games, and maybe even win a championship. If you don't believe that he's that guy, I think it's time to move on, right? Because it's time to pay. It's time to pay up. And so I think from a financial standpoint, you could let go of Justin Fields, stockpile some picks. He's going to be worth some picks, right? He's not going to be, 2 first rounds or anything like that. But you'll get a nice little haul for Justin Fields, depending on the suitor. Draft Caleb Williams if that's the guy that you want to go with. And then you still have those other picks that you can build around him with. And the beauty of it financially is you've got at least 3 to 4 years before you have to pay Caleb Williams. So you have more time and more cap space to build a team around him and make sure that he has success, right? So financially, it makes sense for you to say, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and draft the younger guy because Justin, his contract, we've got to make a decision on whether we're going to want to pay him right now. But if we get Caleb, we've got at least 3 to 4 years, maybe even 5, before we actually have to pay him whatever he's worth or whatever he's deserving of in that time span. So, and we can build a championship roster around him because to Juan and Chris's point, there's not too many holes on that team. They're actually a very well-constructed team. They can run the football when they need to, when they decide to. The issue is they don't decide to a lot. Caleb Williams is a mobile quarterback. I wouldn't say a running quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback, so he can get out the pocket. He can make some plays. He can extend plays and do different things like that. And then defensively, to Chris's point, as soon as they got Sweat, I mean, it's like he changed that entire defense around just with him coming on board. So I could absolutely see that, but then I could also see, to Juan's point, hey, listen, let's just give him weapons and protection, right? If we're talking about wanting to win and compete right now, I mean, the division is a very, very like it's going to be a tough division to win in if you don't have experience at the quarterback position, because Jordan Love showed flashes of Aaron Rodgers. The Detroit Lions are clearly the kings of the division right now. So do you want to have to wait for a quarterback to develop in this division right now? I mean, if you're saying, hey, maybe that's the best bet to do so, maybe Jared Goff gets older and he starts to dwindle. Maybe Jordan Love just had a phenomenal season this year and maybe he falters and maybe we got some time. But are you really willing to take that gamble? To me, that's more risk than it is reward. And so for me, if I was making the decision, me personally, I'm keeping Justin Fields. I'm going to go after Marvin Harrison, just like Juan said. I'm probably going to make him the number 1 overall pick. If not, I'm going to trade I'm going to trade back. And I don't believe that the drop off from Marvin Harrison to the next best receiver is that far. So you still can get a premier top wide receiver, I believe. Because here's the thing, like DJ Moore is still going to be the number 1 no matter who you get. But I just believe that you want to build around Justin Fields. That's how I would do it. But, hey, that's just me. I don't know what the Bears are going to decide to do, but we will see. And that brings us to our last topic of the day, okay? And I just want to know, we've got the championship round previews, okay? Championship round coming up this Sunday, okay? Detroit versus San Francisco, Baltimore versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So I want to know from you, Juan. I'm gonna do it this way. I want you to preview the Detroit and San Fran game, and then Chris, I want you to preview the Baltimore and KC game. Juan, it's on you. What's going to happen on Sunday in San Fran?
You know, we've had a lot of things here in Michigan happening that's been big news. We have the trial of the the parents of the Oxford kid. We have a lot of tax stuff happening, but the number 1 story that's been on everyone's mind, you can ask any Michigander, any Detroiter, what the number 1 story in Michigan is, and it's the Detroit Lions. This team means so much to this city, unlike any team I've ever seen mean for a market this size. And they're going to San Francisco to take on a somewhat underdog team in and of itself. We know that San Francisco has juggernauts all over their roster, from Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Ward in the secondary, to the weapons on offense, including George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, who will play on Sunday, we learned yesterday, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, and an offensive line that is built to last. The only thing the one thing I say that makes him an underdog, excuse me, is Brock Purdy. People still doubt Brock Purdy despite the fact that he had an MVP level season. They say he's a product of a system. In reality, all quarterbacks are a product of the system they're in. Not every quarterback can succeed in different systems. Brock Purdy is succeeding in a system built by a legendary offensive-minded head coach in Kyle Shanahan. This team has been teetering on the brink of success for the past 3 years, and it looks like they're going to break through. However, what we know about Kyle Shanahan especially, he has a habit of choking when the moment matters most. And that is because he's focused a lot more on the scheme and the playbook, not enough on building character within his team. The same cannot be said about Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is a leader among men. He may not be as brilliantly offensively a brilliant offensive strategist like Kyle Shanahan, but he has one thing that many coaches lack in this league, and that is the personality and leadership skills to guide men to where they need to go. Grit is the word here in Detroit. Grit has become a calling card for many Detroiters and the Detroit Lions to rise above what your talent level should be to get the job done. This is a team that reminds me a lot of the 04 Pistons. No, not a lot of like big stars and big names on that team, but put together, make a unit that is damn near impossible to stop. You have Jared Goff on a redemption tour that we haven't seen in a while. This city's behind him when they were calling for his job 7 weeks ago. A running back tandem of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. that is establishing a dominant running game, a great offensive line, weapons led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god that they call him here, and a defense that's given up a lot, but it bends but doesn't break, led by Aiden Hutchinson. Fact of the matter is, I think the biggest matchup that we're going to see is the defensive line of the 49ers versus the offensive line of the Detroit Lions. Can you keep Jared Goff protected enough? And I think they will. The Detroit Lions take this game 28-24 and head to the Super Bowl.
Woo! I like it. Bold predictions from the 1+1. I like it. Good stuff. All right, Chris, let's preview Baltimore versus KC in Be More.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Probably 1A and 1B in regards to best quarterback in terms of the quarterback structure in the league. And these quarterbacks are chasing two different legacies. For Patrick Mahomes, his legacy is already solidified. He's already going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's trying to go to his fourth Super Bowl at the age of 27. He's trying to get his third Super Bowl before the age of 27. And more importantly, if he goes to Baltimore for his second road playoff game in his career and goes to the Super Bowl and potentially wins it, then we're talking the fact that not only Patrick Mahomes is already legacy solidified, but he's already chasing the ghost of Tom Brady. And he'll be the closest quarterback in NFL history to chase Tom Brady for the legitimate GOAT conversation. If he wins it, then you got to say he's better than Aaron Rodgers. You got to say he's better than Drew Brees. And I'll even dare say it, he's even better than the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. So that's the ghost. That's the legacy that Patrick Mahomes is chasing in Baltimore. Meanwhile, for Lamar Jackson, he's chasing a completely different ghost. He's chasing the fact that this is the first time that these two have gone up against each other in the postseason. We talk so much about Joe Burrow and him going up to Kansas City and beating him. We give Josh Allen so much credit for almost beating him. Meanwhile, this is a guy that's on pace to win his second league MVP, hosting an AFC championship game, and potentially could get his first ring. He is the only guy right now that if he's able to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl, he's the only guy that deserves to be talked about as the leveling peer of Patrick Mahomes. And more importantly, Lamar's chasing a different ghost as well. We've seen Randall Cunningham during the 90s. My dad could tell you every single game that Randall Cunningham has played for the Philadelphia Eagles and how electric he was in terms of what he's able to do as a football and as a dual threat quarterback. We all saw Michael Vick. Avery, you're a Falcons fan. You've seen every snap that Michael Vick has taken for the Atlanta Falcons and then up here during Michael Vick's second stint in the NFL. Lamar is chasing a ghost in terms of the stigma that has surrounded him throughout his entire career and quarterbacks like him. That a quarterback with that certain style of play being run first, he's a running back. You can't win with a guy like that at quarterback. And unfortunately, I don't think Lamar asked for this, but this is the legacy that he is chasing. This is the stigma that he has the potential to knock down and to make headways and to make the ability easier for guys who are going to have the same skill set like Lamar Jackson, easier for guys to transition into the NFL. That being said, in regards to all that, I got Baltimore. They check off every single box. They're the best defense in all of football. And when you look at the Chiefs defense that has been the best, that has been anchoring Patrick Mahomes, if Mark Andrews is back, the way Lamar Jackson has been playing not only great football, but also smart and calculating football, I don't see how you can stop that. I don't see how you can stop that Ravens offense. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think Lamar and them pull off in the end. I think it's going to be 28-20. Ravens win.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. The 1+1 says there's going to be an upset in San Fran, and Chris is going with the league and saying, hey, man, Ravens are the best. They're going to get it done. Here's my takes, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to give you a preview. I'm just going to give you what the results are going to be. San Fran, 31-28. Baltimore, 34-20. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Yeah, that's right. 34-20. I was going to say 34-17. The Ravens have been that good this season. But I'm going to give Patrick Mahomes the benefit of the doubt. He's going to put 20 points on the board. 34-20. And that's what it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen. I guess I'm going with the script with the Ravens and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. It is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Air It Out Podcast. Please do me a favor. Go to all of your social media platforms and follow us. That's Facebook and Instagram and X. Go all over those, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Go to all of those platforms and follow us. And then go on over to YouTube. Hit the like button and then turn on that subscribe button and then turn on your notification button. That way you'll know when we are going live every single time, and you can get your comments and everything put into the chat with us as well. And here, do me a favor. Go to the website, www.insidethehashes.com. Okay, that's where you're going to get everything that you need in regards to football. I'm talking player interviews. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Guys like Kyle Hamilton and Isaiah Likely and the like, right? You'll get podcasts just like this one right here. You'll get blogs. You'll get gaming. You'll get all the stuff that you need right there at the website. So please do me a favor and go to the website. But here's what I need you to do. If you can't do all those things separately, go ahead and scan that QR code in the top corner above my box. I know you guys can't see my face, but you can see the box, okay? Scan that QR code. It'll take you exactly where you need to go. But anywho, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump off this podcast now. You guys enjoy an amazing weekend of football. For Christopher Thomas, for the 1+1, my name is Avery Collins. This is the Air It Out Podcast brought to you by Inside the Hashes. And I just want to let you know that Matt Ryan might have been in the playoffs this year if he wasn't padding the football. And he didn't have to deal with all of the stuff that he had to deal with in Indianapolis at the end of his career.
Joe Flacco is better.
Just go ahead and just
might have been better, actually.
I don't know about maybe this Joe Flacco. All I'm